Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers Kieran here. I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
We are in Epping. We're very close to Nick's house.
Yeah, and he's not here.
Nick is not here.
Unbelievable.
Maybe we should have been invited. But we've been here testing this. This is the Adidas Terrex Agravic,
however you want to say it.
Gore-Tex. It's a new trail shoe from Adidas. We've just taken it for a 12k run around some of the kind of firm and kind of sloppy muddy trails in Epping Forest, and we're going to take you through how we found it on this first run. So please forgive the slightly awkward jump back into the office, but we wanted to give you some quick details on what's new with the Adidas Agravic Gore-Tex then. Starting with the stack then, which comes in at 38 mils in the heel, 30 mils in the forefoot for an 8 mil drop. It weighs in at 10.3 ounces or 292 grams in my men's UK 1/2, though that is with a bit of mud on it. On price, it'll set you back $160 or £140. Moving on to a quick look at the design then, and what you've got here is a rockered midsole that uses Lightstrike 2.0 foam. You've got a pretty big heel stack here. That whole thing is set up to bring a bit more cushion, a bit more of a dynamic ride to this shoe perhaps than previous Agravic. Up top you've got mesh uppers. These have got a Gore-Tex invisible fit technology built in. That's essentially a waterproof membrane bootie inside that's there to keep the water out, block the wind, but also still be breathable enough to let moisture and sweat out. Other interesting details include this kind of higher sock-like built-in Gator-esque heel collar. It's a high-rise heel, but because the top of the collar is nice and soft, it secures and keeps stuff out but doesn't risk rubbing. It's not too high on the Achilles. There's a gusseted tongue. You've got TPU overlays for protection into the toe box. Overall, it's quite a structured shoe, as you might anticipate, for handling the lumps and bumps of the off-road and trail terrain. Then when you flip them over, you've got a full covering here of Continental rubber for the outsole. That uses a mix of 4mm and 5mm lugs. 5mm on the outside, you've got smaller 4mm lugs on the inside. That's there to create good grip in wet conditions as well. So we're just back from doing that 12k run. We've had some pretty mixed terrain there. It started out in it's quite dry, but it's super sloppy, super choppy, really muddy, slick mud. Then onto some sort of firm, compacted trails, bit of forest floor, some other puddles and wet bits. So it was a pretty good test for a shoe where you might be running some firmer ground and some softer grass, sloppy stuff. Mike, how did you find it?
Yeah, all right. I think, we definitely had some mixed terrain out there to kind of test it. A couple of little hilly parts as well to see how that kind of grip and outsole was going to handle as well. I think the key thing for us, given that it is a Gore-Tex shoe, that protection, there was some kind of boggy areas, and I think it handled generally those conditions, I think, okay. Like, I think there was probably a slightly bigger kind of puddle where it maybe kind of started to kind of sink in a little bit, but I think, from that point of view, protection wise, it felt pretty good. In terms of the experience of the ride and stuff, how did you find?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of say it in the other videos, but when I look at these shoes and I see quite a kind of high, it's not a booty fit, but it's quite tight across the top. I always worry about how my high insteps are going to get in there. It does fit snug. It is super secure, bordering on a little bit tight, I found it. Probably if I was going to use this for a longer trail, I might consider going half a size up. Underfoot, I think it has a really good balance of cushioning. It's still quite direct. It's obviously got Lightstrike foam underneath. But now, from some of the past versions of the Agravic, I found a little bit, maybe too direct, a bit too solid, a bit too blocky. This one has a little softer edge, which I thought handled that mixed terrain really well.
I think it was ideal. I think there is some blocky elements to it, but it isn't too overly firm. I think it gave it that versatility in the conditions that are running. I think I would say similar about the fit. I think with the Agravic kind of shoes in general can be a little bit on the kind of snug side. I think that is maybe the case, so there might be an argument to go maybe look at the sizing on this shoe. But I think in terms of that terrain, it felt pretty good. I think when we were able to pick things up a little bit, it's not a super light shoe. It's clearly there to really protect and protect your feet on that kind of terrain. And it felt okay. And I think when we could roll a little bit, kind of slightly more, faster than kind of coasting in it, it felt okay and didn't feel totally out of place, I think. But if all out kind of fast stuff, that's not really what the shoe, I would say, is about based on that run.
No, even when I'm running slower, I do feel like it's a shoe that makes you want to pick your feet a little bit quicker. It's not got that sort of super soft like some of the trail shoes we're seeing now. I think the other interesting detail, which I'll try and hold it up here to show you, is it's got this kind of built-in sort of gator heel sort of ankle collar setup which comes up quite high. It's nice and soft there, rolled down. So I didn't get any digging in, but it does feel like everything's kind of well protected, right? This does have an overall kind of good protective feel.
I think that kind of tells me from that first on the kind of runs that I probably would use it. It wouldn't be going out racing and, you know, running hard in this shoe, but I think if you wanted something you're going to spend a few hours out on kind of trails, mixed terrain, you know it's going to protect, you know it's going to give you a good outsole. It's got a continental outsole on there, you know you're going to get something that's going to grip pretty well across a mixture of kind of surfaces, and it's going to, you know, it's going to grip and well overall. So
yeah, it did all right in the, you know, some of the did a bit of steep downs where you got a little bit of sort of wet mud, what have you. It was okay. In the really sloppy stuff that we first went out in, it will, you know, these lugs are not going to hold that, but then most trail shoes aren't going to deal with that very well. But for everything else, I thought it did really nice. We had a few road sections as well.
Yeah.
Getting a little bit direct, but it was kind of okay. I wouldn't want to run long stretches on the super compact or tarmac. But
I think crossing roads for a short period, and probably that's where you'd probably want it. Anything kind of longer stretches, it's probably going to be a bit, you know, not that forgiving on your feet. I think that's kind of what I would probably say on the kind of shorter kind of pavements and roads bits that we've done on that route. So yeah, I wouldn't be the kind of terrain that I'd want to be spending a lot of time in this shoe. But it's kind of not what it's really built for, what I would say it's built for. Okay, some initial thoughts. So we've only done one run. We've done a pretty kind of coasting, kind of
an hour?
13, yeah, kind of well over an hour, I think, given we got a little bit lost. And you know, this shoe costs what, 130, 140 pounds, so it's not excessively expensive. How do you think it's priced? What are you feeling about the shoe so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to drop in as quite a good utility shoe for people who might be looking for something that will give them good crossover. So yeah, for £140, my first impressions are, I think this is going to be quite a good value. It looks durable. It feels pretty solid overall. I think the performance underfoot will cater for a lot of runners to do probably quite a good range of runs. Maybe it's a little bit on the firmer side. I mean, it's really, when we're coming from big stack soft road shoes, when you put on a trailer, it's always a bit of a jump. So I'm interested to put this through kind of more miles and see what the long run potential is. I would say this is like an hour long on the trails that's going to be capable of doing quite a mixed amount of terrain, and it's going to perform really well in sort of wetter conditions where you want to keep your feet dry.
Yeah, I don't think I would class this as a kind of a super agile kind of off-road shoe, but I think in terms of being a shoe that is kind of affordable, going to give you something that if you are covering trails where you know it's a mixture of kind of softer terrain, a little bit harder, something that's going to work across that maybe in one run, I think it's going to work well in that point of view. You're not going to get this massively up-tempo kind of ride out of it, but you're going to get something first and foremost that feels protective, feels comfortable, feels stable enough, and feels like it's going to keep you on that kind of uneven surface kind of very well, kind of balanced as well. So I think, yeah, it's going to be another kind of good kind of option. Is it going to be a standout option in and around this price? That's something to kind of be seen in further testing.
So there you have it. That has been our first impressions and first run in the new Adidas Terrex Agravic Gore-Tex.
Nice short name.
Nice short name of the shoe. We will put this through more miles for the full review in due course. In the meantime, if you're after good trail shoe recommendations, I'm going to pop a video on the channel now that you can go and watch. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and
yeah, we're off to go and eat some food.
Yeah,
some nice food.
Get some scran.